I have a lot of Indian friends or South Asian friends, and sometimes they're just like, wow, you do a lot of white people stuff. And I'm like, it's not. It just isn't. It doesn't need to be. Nature is accessible for all of us. Right. And I think making that and emphasizing that is something that I really care about. In the trail running community, I think we've had a bit of a lack of diversity for a long time. Putting it delicately,
yeah.
Right? And so you spend 2 weeks in Tahoe, which is also a place that doesn't have a ton of diversity, right? Like when I lived up here for a year and a half or two, that was one of the things that really stood out to me. And I think one of the hardest things for me was really not having any form of diversity. And so, you put all of that together. I kind of went back to San Francisco in July being like, I really want to spend more time in a running context with my community and have more South Asian people show up to these races, do these races, kind of see that it's not weird for us to be doing this, right? And I think South Asian culture is also one that doesn't prioritize, physical activity in quite the same way, right? And so, there's always this like very strong focus on academic excellence, right? For South Asians growing up, especially in the US. And athletic pursuits are kind of like, a little bit of a tick box that you do for extracurriculars on your way to college, but it's not something that is emphasized or pushed.
Yeah.
And so it's something where, obviously culturally on our side, there's some gaps, but I think it's something where I want to see more representation in trail running and in running more broadly. And so Chai and Miles was kind of my attempt to bring a bunch of South Asian folks together in the Bay Area or San Francisco specifically, and just kind of build that.
Why does it matter to you?
I think it's something where I'm very proud of my South Asian and Indian heritage and identity. And that's something that's like, it's very core to me. And so that's something where I want to see more of that in the spaces that I'm in, right? And I want that to kind of inspire other people like me to kind of follow their passions, right? Like I have friends that have been like, yeah, I really love trail running or I really love running, and I wouldn't have gone as far into it if it wasn't for, folks like, not less me, but like you look at someone like Raj Panu and folks like that, where you're like, oh, it's really
Lining
cool to
up
see
at
them.
the top of the sport. Yeah,
exactly. And, they're like really showing the excellence of South Asians in athletic pursuits. And you're like, this is super inspiring. And so doing that at a more grassroots kind of community level was something that I really wanted to do.
How did you feel about Broken Arrow?
Broken Arrow is incredible because I think it's one of the very few races and few events in our sport that both talks a big game about diversity, but then also really backs that up, right? And seeing a bunch of like friends of mine, people that I know, people of color, showing up at Broken Arrow and doing their first trail races and really getting a taste of the mountains and like things that, they're a bit outside their norm and maybe outside their comfort zone, but they come and do it and see just how epic, this sport can be and how, mountain racing is. And it's, we're a few hours away from the Bay Area, right?
Which is like one of the most diverse places in the country.
Exactly. And so it is, relatively speaking, accessible. And, they kind of can take this experience back, and all of the trails in the East Bay, all the trails in Marin, the peninsula, like there's a lot of Bay Area trail running that's super accessible that, maybe they kind of open up a little bit and start exploring that as opposed to just, road running or whatever it is.
I had a conversation this morning on podcast, and I made a comment. I said, as a straight white guy, I felt like I was not in the majority for one of very few times that I can remember. And I was like, that's cool. And it's the facilitation of they put their money where their mouth is, right? They bet that it was not just like the right thing to do, but it was a good business decision on top of that, right? Like it's an organization that needs to be financially viable, and they can't make decisions that are going to disrupt the ability to execute, or the ability to sell sponsorship or sell tickets. And they said, hey, we actually think this is a good thing, not just for a business case, but for the human case.
Yeah. And I think, if you talk to Brendan or talk to Ethan about this, I think they start with, this is something we care about.
Right.
And so it's worth doing.
Right.
Right. And I know that Ethan at various points in his career has really focused on that kind of thing, right? He was working with the American India Foundation, which is a charity organization that, donates to underprivileged communities in India. It's something that like he has cared about outside of the trail world for a long time as well. And so it's really cool to kind of see that being brought into our world.
Totally. Okay, so back to Tri Miles.
Yes.
You had this idea. What did you do next?
Honestly, I just started showing up on Fridays at a particular corner near Golden Gate Park. And I just had some friends show up and, you know, it's a small group. We don't do a ton of outreach. It's a lot of word of mouth, friend of friends, you know, WhatsApp group kind of thing. And so we just all show up. We show up at each other's races. You know, one of our core members was running his first 100K at Miwok. So I was like pacing him and crewing him. You know, we have honestly a pretty strong team that shows up to some of the shorter distance road races, right? Whether it's the Impala Stampede or West Valley's Christmas Relays. I think we were like 15th or 18th of like an incredibly fast groups of teams. And so it's cool to see that, right? Because then you get this team of South Asians that's, you know, really close to the front, throwing down some fast times, and you're like, oh, this is cool.
Shout out to Krishna also, who was with us this weekend. And it was really cool to see him go from like totally overwhelmed and I don't know what I'm getting myself into to I'll be back next year at Broken Arrow. And he ran the race in 4.5 hours. He's like, I've never been on my feet for that long. And he did it. And what's so cool is that, like, imagine the things that's unlocked for him, right? Like, I know all the things that breaking 3 hours in the marathon or doing my first 50K or like these things that we put so much value on from a milestone standpoint. Like his first I don't know if it was his first trail race. I think it was.
I think it was his first trail race.
Yeah. Wow, this cloud feels wonderful. I'm sitting here in the hot seat. Black was a bad choice. Anyway, just to see like what it unlocks for people. I was talking with Sydney about the same thing. Like her brother did the race and was just like evangelized with trail running and was like, yeah, what else can I do now? I mean, from where I sit, like when I think about diversity as a Jewish person, I'm in a minority, but I'm also white and straight. And so there are different contributing factors and we can wear many hats. But the way I think about it is more people should experience what this enables. And road running is one thing, and it unlocks really cool stuff. When you sign up for races, push your body past its limits, you get out of it what you put into it. You look at trail racing, you get to explore really cool places. You might run further than you could ever have thought before, but it just does something that I don't know that anything else unlocks. Like, have you felt that?
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something different about being in nature.
Yeah.
And like some of the more scenic places that we run, it's just different.
Yeah.
And it gives you, I think, a different connection to both the world around you, but also it teaches you something about yourself a little bit in a way that, like, I love road running and I love running in the city and I do a lot of it, obviously, in San Francisco, but, you know, there's just nothing quite like being in the mountains.
Totally.
And so, you know, for Krishna and for a few of the others that came, whether it was from Nth Degree or from Unseen, you know, having this be really their first trail racing experience is so cool.
Yeah.
Right. And I really hope that it kind of gives them the urge to do more of it.
Yeah.
Like, I know with Krishna, he finished and he was like, dude, this is so hard. I don't want to do this again. And within 2 hours, he was like, okay, cool. So I'll see you next year. And also,
what else can I sign up for?
He was also like, oh yeah, there's that race up Donner Summit on July 26th. I'm, I think, free that weekend. And you said the Tri Mouse has a discount code. Okay. Yeah, I think so. Like, let's make it happen.
I saw Justin from Unseen Run Club immediately after finishing, and it was the same thing. He was just like, man, that was hard, but that was awesome. And it's just like the joy that it unlocks. And again, you can find joy in road racing, but it's just different, right? When the times don't matter, you have to find reason, right? Because like a 4-hour 50K or a 5-hour 50K can mean one thing in one place, and it could be super fast in another, and it could be super slow in another.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It really becomes like partially what you can dig out of yourself, what you can find within yourself from a performance standpoint, but also just, I don't know, there's something freeing about not being like, okay, I need to hit 646 miles every mile for the next 2 hours and 48 minutes. Right? Like or
it's
whatever.
257.
Whatever. And it's dumb that you know that.
Yeah.
Right? But like,
because the 651 is 259. So it's just a bit under. I've done that math before thinking I was going to. Yeah.
But it, like, when you don't need to do that, you just get to like enjoy your surroundings a little bit and like stand up, look around, and be like, holy crap, it's cool that I get to do this.
Yeah. And we're sitting here in Tahoe National Forest with big redwoods behind us. And it's just like, it's wonderful. And to your point, like we're only 2 or 3 hours away from the Bay Area. And you can make a sweeping generalization that like people who live in the Bay Area, particularly in San Francisco, they have the means to get here and do the racing that happens here. And the Bay Area is an extremely diverse place to begin with. And so it's this unique scenario of like, if money's not a barrier, but it's a, not logistical, but like more of like an invitational barrier, how do you achieve that? And so what's happening in Tahoe, what's happening in the Bay Area with the push for more diversity and inclusion in trails is fascinating because you remove one of, not entirely, but more so than potentially anywhere else, you remove one of the major blockers to see like, can this be done?
Yeah, it's honestly a little bit of a cultural barrier, right? To some extent, you don't think about it, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, that's stuff that white people do.
Right.
Right? It's like a thing that I've heard said about trail running multiple times before. And, you know, I have a lot of Indian friends or South Asian friends. And, you know, sometimes they're just like, wow, you do a lot of white people stuff. And I'm like, it's not. It just isn't. I get where whether it's sentiment or assumption or whatever the reputation comes from, but it doesn't need to be. Nature is accessible for all of us. Right. And I think making that and emphasizing that is something that I really care about.